Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Junkyard podcast. Today I have Norman Murchie here with me. Yesterday was Terrell Drayton, and today is Norman. Yeah, he's a local DJ from Worthing with more than a decade of experience spinning records, and he's also the founder of Inappropriate and Clap parties which obviously agitate the South Coast. So this man is doing a lot for the South Coast for years, and obviously he's a man of knowledge, and he's constantly pushing this town forward. Thanks for coming, Norman. And what record did you play?
Oh, hi. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that was We Are Edits by DJ Super Soul. It's a recent edit of Sister Sledge, We Are Family. Um, it's just, I think it came out probably about 6 months ago or something. There's a really, on the B side, there's a really good different edit where they've got like old school hip hop flavours on top of it as well. I recommend it. It's about £8. Go get it. Juno or Phonica have got it still, I think. Yeah.
So, is this the type of music you currently playing at your parties? This sort of like soul, funky, are the inappropriate end club nights characterized by that sound?
Uh, yeah. I mean, it's sort of inappropriate hand clap doesn't really have a music policy per se. It's kind of, if anything, it's policyless. But over the past 8 years or so that we've been doing it, it has developed its own voice, and that voice is primarily in the funk, soul, disco, house kind of arena. Though we do like to throw in some curveballs. Even between the three of us that do it regularly, we've probably been DJing about sort of 70 years between the three of us, you know. So, and record collection wise, we've both got, well, all three of us have got, you know, really big collections that span quite a lot of different genres. So we can go kind of anywhere, you know. So it's a bit unpredictable, but it does tend to sort of focus, you know, on that soulful flavour with some funk and, you know, keeping it upbeat. I mean, get the girls on a dance floor and the boys will follow on there, you know.
And so it's been a long time DJing, and you haven't lost the passion. I could see one of these days here we were just spinning here, and you were like like a baby, you know, in a good way. But 17 years, and you're still on doing this with a lot of passion. Okay, so what I've asked you, I've been asking a lot of guys to bring records. That's all. That's what we do here. Is just about music and listening to good music. And I'm gonna ask you to play the next one. The next one. And okay, I can see the specials in there. What is that?
Yes, so well, we were talking the other day about, you know, about records and such, and you sort of mentioned, you know, the records that are important to me, and the first album that I bought with my own money was the Specials' self-titled first album. It's a really important record, I think, culturally. I think it was really important for the UK at the time that it was released. It's probably more important now than ever, you know, with its message of multiculturalism, etc. I think it's probably, you know, we would probably need something like that, you know, back. Really, I think the Specials are still making new music, but I think maybe young people should maybe jump on some of that shit too. But for me personally, I mean, so I sort of, when I was younger, we were quite a poor family, so we didn't have a TV or anything. So we had the radio was our main source of entertainment, and I remember hearing things like Madness, and, you know, obviously all the Motown stuff and all of that. When I was really little, and sort of learning all the words to Diana Ross and stuff like that, because you'd hear it on the radio constantly, you know. I remember sort of when I discovered the Specials, they were just a band that blew me away. You know, I was probably about 8 or 9 when I discovered them, and yeah, I got obsessed about them, you know. And it was one of them that it led to like the beat, and then that led me into, you know, the sort of the Jamaican originals like Toots and the Maytals, and you know, all those Jamaican artists, and then from there I sort of sprungboard into the soul scene, you know. But I mean, so it was, for me, it's a very important record, which I still play to this day and still love and enjoy, you know, as much as I did when I first heard it. So
Just a second. You were saying about the poverty during those years in UK. I've read something about it. I know there was a recession during those years, like the late 80s or something.
I mean, like most countries, I think this country has swung from recession to boom over the past sort of 40, 50 years. Every sort of 6 or 7 years, there's some banking created crisis, isn't there? Financial crisis. You know, I think if you're working class in this country, you get used to being poor, and you get used to being, you know, put upon. And I think that's got worse over the past 10 years. And I think now that, you know, not just the establishment going after the poor, but now they're going after the disabled and people from other cultures, you know, the Windrush generation, etc. And I think it's just, you know, we live in really sinister times, you know. I think the times are as sinister now as they were in the late 70s, early 80s, upwards. I think we need to be very careful. It's dangerous times that we live in.
What I know is that the specials, especially, they had like a very good role in terms of the working class people, right? During those years, like
So I think to understand a band like the Specials, you really need to understand working class subcultures from the UK. So they come from, sort of mod, skinhead, punk, all of that, all of those different elements. But I mean, what people forget as well is that all of the scenes, the white working class scenes that have been going on since the 60s, since the mods, all of them have been influenced by immigrants. So if you look at the original mods, the modernists, they were originally influenced by the sons and daughters of Jewish tailors living in the East End of London. When you look at the Rude Boys, the original sort of skinhead crew, they were all influenced by the Jamaican immigrants, again, possibly from the East End of London, and I think the Two-Tone record label, which Jerry Dammers of the Specials started, I think is really telling of that. It's two-tone. It's all about racial unity, racial harmony. And I think that's a message that is important. And I think it's one that you have to keep reiterating. If you look at what's going on, like I hate to get political. We're here to talk about records, but without getting political, there's some racist motherfuckers out there.
yeah, that's true, man. Yeah, we're not getting too political, but that's obviously like a lot of history behind the records that you brought to us. And no more talk. We're gonna move on to the specials now.
Stop your messing around.
All right, specials, 1979 records, and basically, I'm gonna ask you something else, which is like, when I moved from Birmingham to here to Worthing, I didn't have the idea of a nightclub being here before during the 90s, such as the Stearns. And was that like was that very influential for you as well back in the days? Have you ever like experienced Stearns as well as a kid?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Stearns. I think any DJ around here, especially in my age, I think Stearns would be hugely influential. I mean, I went there, so the first sort of rave experience I had was at Stearns. It was a dude called Purple Haze. I was, God knows, 15, 16, and it changed my world. Really did, like opened my eyes to, just a whole new world. House music was in its infancy then. It was, over here it was, I mean, we had New Order and stuff like that, but yeah, it was a brave new world, it was something else. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, there was it's difficult to describe Stearns to people that weren't there, I mean, I didn't go there as often as some people, with it being on my doorstep. For me, it opened my eyes, but then I wanted to go a bit further afield, and so I went raving, or whatever you call it, sort of everywhere. A lot of people would go to Stearns religiously every weekend. I wasn't one of those people. I liked a bit of variety. I liked the Zap Club in Brighton was a huge favourite of mine. Empire over in Bognor was a place that I really loved, because they played. They had a more sort of. It was a smaller club, so it was like one room, and you had like the music policy was more sort of soulful US garage house. It was a bit more sort of to my taste. I found sometimes that some of the harder stuff they do at Stearns, especially towards the end with all the Lenny D and all of that kind of sort of gabba kind of noise, I was never really a fan, and I think I've said to you before, when people started wearing white gloves and, all that dummies and all that kind of stuff, I was a bit pretentious maybe, but it wasn't really for me, so it turned me off a little bit. But I mean, yeah, Stearns was a hugely influential place, and everyone involved in that gaff really deserves a pat on the back for what they did for the music scene around here. And so many of those people are still going as well, and still doing really, really well. People have made records, people that DJ'd at that place have made records, and, have started some really influential clubs. And, it's been a real breeding ground in a weird little town like Worthing that you wouldn't even think of. I know that I certainly wouldn't be the same person without the place.
Yeah, it certainly had an impact on people. Not so much on the town, I reckon, nowadays, but on people that experienced those years, it definitely had an impact. And what I was reading the other day is that I don't know if you've been to Printworks in London, but one of the guys responsible for the Hydra events, a name that brings guys like Jeff Miles and Jeff Mills and Robert Hood and all of those big names. He was actually a Worthing native, and he experienced Stearns, so that obviously had a huge impact on people. I just can't find, in terms of the town, like the structures that we have in other big cities. But all right, we're gonna move on to that one. Yes, otherwise I'm not gonna have questions to ask, mate. And yeah, this is all about music. Okay, so what is that particular record that changed your view about club culture when you mentioned starting going out when you were like 15, 16? Like, was there something that changed?
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, so I was always into music. From a very young age, I was always into music of all different types. I'd collect records, and I had, as I say, I'd listen to the radio a lot. So I'd always listen out for new stuff. And I kind of got to a stage where I was probably 15, 16 or so, around 1989, and I was living in a room above a pub, and sort of working in the pub. Sort of doing shifts, clearing the bar or washing pots or whatever. And then obviously, sort of, if it was a lot. I was very independent for that age, and I had sort of regular income as well. And there was no one kind of saying to me, don't go and do this, don't go and do that. So I had like a freedom that I think maybe a lot of 16, 15, 16-year-olds didn't have. So I just kind of just did whatever the hell I wanted, you know. And I'd go and experience. Once I'd been to Stearns and experienced that, I then, you know, I was bitten by the bug. You know, I really was. And before that, I'd been into all kinds of music. I loved soul, coming from the Motown thing, like I said earlier. But I'd got into my rock music, my experimental music, and stuff like that. And so when Screamadelica by Primal Scream came out, for me was a really important record, because it was almost like, yeah, you can be into rock music and you can be into dance music, and the two aren't mutually exclusive. And obviously in the UK before that, you had the kind of mods and rockers thing, innit? You know, like, so if you dressed a certain way or you listened to a different type of music, you get your head kicked in down the shopping precinct and all that. And that was countrywide over here, you know, it really was. So for me, Screamadelica, when that came out, that was a huge, huge record. And again, one that I still listen to and enjoy now, you know, 30, fucking God knows how many years later, you know. So I've brought the Terry Farley mix of Loaded, because I think it's, well, I'll be honest with you, I like, so the tune that Loaded's based on is called I'm Losing More Than I'll Ever Have, and I really like it, you know, and it's a beautiful tune, but it's so different that most people don't recognise it as being sort of Primal Scream, you know, because they were a very different band before Weatherall got his hands on them. But I've brought the Terry Farley mix of Loaded into play because I like it, and it's got more elements of the original song, which sort of resonate a little bit with me. So I thought I'd bring it in. I don't know if you've heard it, man.
I'm a big fan of Primal Scream, and as you were saying, like me too. I listen to Screamadelica nowadays, and it's just great. I love the cross between rock and dance music, and that's unbelievable. I think that's the UK that I know. That's the UK I always knew. It's a country with no boundaries, you know, where things can mix and can work together, and you can feel that on Primal Scream music. By the way, I saw them live this last summer in Portugal. Great act. Were they from Manchester as well?
So Bobby Gillespie's from Glasgow originally, and he grew up with Alan McGee from Creation Records, and was the drummer for the Jesus and Mary Chain, which are the band that sort of kick-started Creation Records. And then so when Manny joined them, Manny was in the Stone Roses previously, so obviously there is a Manchester connection. But Andrew Innes, the keyboard player, he lives in Hove. So I think his kids used to go to school with the kids of someone that I used to work with. So I was always hearing these really great stories about them. I mean, just like you say, they are, for me, they sum it up. You know, them, Happy Mondays, Stone Roses, you know, the Spiral Carpets, James, all of that kind of indie, baggy crossover. You know, it was all really, really good. But I think for me, you know, Primal Scream have always stood just, you know, because they are so different. You know, they're just so unique. You know, I love them.
They are. Primal Scream, everyone.
what is it that you want to do?
I'm gonna get deep down, said. I'm gonna get deep down. Woo, hey!
Just what is it that you want to do?
We want to get loaded. And we want to have a good time.
Primal Scream, everyone. Primal Scream. Norman, you have a lot of experience. You've experienced certainly more things than me. I'm humble enough to say that. And was it better during you basically have experienced the whole boom of rave culture in the UK? I'm in front of a man that experienced that. Not every day you get that. So, was it better?
I mean, that's a loaded question, man. You know, pardon the pun. But I mean, for me, you know, I was a youngster, so yeah, you know, they were, you know, I was in my pomp. You know, I could go out and party 3 or 4 days on a bounce, and you know, wake up the next day and be fine. You know. Now I go and I DJ for sort of 5 or 6 hours, and I'm hobbling around like an old man for 2 or 3 days, you know. So it does catch up with you. But I think, I mean, like you said earlier, I'm still as excited about music and DJ culture as I ever was. You know, I mean, probably more so, you know, now that I've sort of gone full time. But I think that it's as exciting now as it was back then. You know, and I think with new technology and the fact that with the internet, you know, people are more educated about music, you know. I mean, so, you know, when it all kicked off in this country, you know, one of the reasons why it was so exciting was because it was all so new and no one had heard it, and, you know, it's all new, exciting, amazing. And I think that, you know, youngsters these days are a lot more open-minded because they've been on the internet and they've had a look around, and, you know, they've experienced the whole world of music, you know. So, I mean, you still get, you still get those old faces that are like, oh, you know, things were better back then. But you get people saying that about the war. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think it's all relative. I think if you're still involved in the scene, as I am, and you know, as you are, and you know, all the guys here at Northbrook are, I think if you're involved in the music scene, then it's exciting now as it ever has been. And I think, you know, part of that is because you've got all the old faces are still making music. You know, you've still got all like, Louis Vega, and you've still got Frankie Knuckles R.I.P. But you've got people like the Black Madonna making music in that same vein. You've got people like Greg Wilson, who stepped out of it, you know, for years. He came back on the scene 10, 15 years ago, and has really sort of shook things up. Harvey is doing incredible things. You know, I mean, Harvey used to play at Tonka at the Zap when I was a kid, and he's been a bit of an influence on me. And you know, he's still doing some incredible stuff both as a DJ and as a producer, and you know, introducing new music. And I think it's just a fantastic time to be involved in music. You know, there's so much happening. But yeah, I mean, I think anyone of my age is also going to look back with rose-tinted spectacles. You know, so I think that's a dangerous question, really. You know, I mean, but I mean, so locally, there's quite a lot going on here. You know, you've got the factory, etc. You've got all the various little venues and whatnot. Get sidetracked, sorry, but I mean, yeah, as I say, you know, in respect of whether it's better now than it was then, it's different. You know, so if you're comparing apples and oranges, really, you know, it's a different world. But I think it's equally as exciting now. Definitely, it was a long-winded way of getting to that answer, but yeah.
It's true, man. Yeah, I'm just concerned that there's no legacy. Obviously, these guys are getting older and older, and yeah, it's gonna be a bit difficult to have the continuation. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know, because there's a lot of exciting, you know, young DJs around. There's a lot of exciting young music producers around. I mean, you know, I think, yeah, things they're not going to continue in the same vein, but then you wouldn't want it to, you know, if music doesn't evolve and change and grow, any style, then it becomes, you know, like nostalgic. It becomes like you might as well go to a medieval battle reenactment, you know, for all the validity of you know, of it being up to date. You know, really, if you going to harp on about how things always were, then things won't change and evolve. And I think it has to change and evolve in order for it to be exciting and new. And I do think, you know, I mean, even if you just look around at Northbrook, some of the young techno guys we've got here, some of the drum and bass guys, some of the hip hop cats we've got, you know, I mean, there's some exciting young people making music around here, you know. And I think I'm really looking forward to hearing what they're going to come up with in the next, like, God knows, months, years, you know, whenever. I'm really looking forward to it, you know.
Thank you. You got Greg Wilson in there? Yeah. Okay. Greg Wilson, he was basically someone who changed the old Manchester scene as well. The Hacienda. He was part of the Hacienda. And yeah, we're going to hear him now.
Bounce, 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 get bounce, 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 check, bounce, 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 get bounce, 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 bounce,
This is a one-time exclusive. Come on. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's your primitive, it's my head and yet number. It's your primitive, it's my head and yet number. If you got a big me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's your primitive, it's why I need number. It's your primitive, it's why I need number. If you got a big, let me search it. To find out how hard I gotta work, yeah. It's your primitive, it's why I need number. It's your primitive, it's why I need number. Work it. Come on. Work it. Come on. Work it. Come on.
I was looking so good, I couldn't check myself.
I looked over to the left.
I was feeling so good, I had to touch myself.
I looked over to the left.
I was eyeing my thighs, but a pecan brown.
I looked over to the left.
Coming out of my shirt, and then my skirt came down, down, down.
Is it worth it? Let me work it.
Baby, now let's get down tonight.
Bounce, bounce, bounce. Get the thing. Bounce, world bounce, bounce,
This is a one-time exclusive. Ain't no shame, ladies, do your thing. Just make sure you ahead of the game. You know, Missy still super duper, but Prince couldn't get me change my name. Papa, Kunta can't tell you slave again, no sign. Picture black saying, oh yes, I'm massa. No. Got a Lamborghini, so I drive faster. Just to make your haters even freaking matter. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's your primitive, it's why I need number. It's your primitive, it's why I need number. If you got a big, let me search it. To find out how hard I gotta work, yeah. It's your primitive, it's why I need number. It's your primitive, it's why I need number. To my fellas. Oh, could go.
I like the way you work that.
My. To my ladies. Whoa.
You sure know how to work that.
Could go.
Norman, do you think these sort of edits are important for a DJ to have on their own bags? Because my understanding is that they are very important. Like if you want to bring different sorts of crowds that probably they've been introduced to Missy Elliott, but they haven't been introduced to dance music, and it's very important to have these edits throughout the night so you can build it and attract a wider audience. Do you agree with me in that way as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for a DJ to have different stuff in their bag. You don't want to be packing the same bag as everyone else, really. I mean, that can work, I guess, but not for me. I think edits are important. I like the way that Greg Wilson works his edits. I like the way he puts his DJ sets together. There's a lot of really familiar stuff, a lot of stuff that you'd have heard before, but in a different context. And I like that. I like it when you take a record that's not associated with sort of dance club culture and make it so. Missy Elliott, it's not really because she's hip hop. So, but I mean the bass line from that tune is from an old 80s tune, old 80s modern soul tune. And I think I know that when I DJ, I play at a lot of different sort of events, and I know that when I DJ and I play stuff like that, you'll get people coming over and asking about, what's that mix of Missy Elliott? Is it on, is it one of hers or whatever? And then you get chatting to them about it, and you can introduce people to different vibes and stuff like that, and I think it's important to. I like edit culture, I like sample culture, I like cut and paste culture. It's a big part of who I am, and I think edits, they hark back all the way to the original sort of disco DJs of the 70s, and I think it's a really good way of taking something familiar but putting your own stamp on it and making it kind of exclusive, and it's one of the things that I'm learning to do here at Northbrook, and I'm quite excited about some of the bits I've got bubbling under, and they will, when I've got up to speed, they will become DJ tools for me, and it will make, I'll keep them exclusively for me, and I'll drop them in my sets as and when I see fit, and and I think that's important, and I think it is part of the culture. It's a really important thing. Editing, sampling, all of those. It's skills that I think are, if you're getting into DJing, you need to know the history and you need to understand it. I think it's quite important.
It's true, man. What are your top three DJs, ranging from hip hop, whatever?
Okay, that's a difficult question. I mean, so I've always loved Norman J. I've always been a massive fan of Norman J. I love what he does. I love his ear. I love the way that he will play across the genres. He'll play it's dance music, but it's not. You can't pigeonhole him. And off the back of that, I like Mr. Scruff because I think Mr. Scruff has taken that sort of ethos and has run with it. And technically, he's absolutely fantastic. As a DJ, I've been lucky enough to sort of be up close and personal with him playing, and to watch him play is just phenomenal. It's next level, But I also love the old New York guys, I love. I mean, I never saw him once, Larry Levan, when he came to the UK in sort of, I think it was like early 90s. When I was very young, I didn't know who he was at the time, and I didn't really understand. I was lucky enough to get dragged there by people that knew more than me, Again, I was like just blown away. It was so different to what we had over here, And off the back of that, I discovered people like Danny Krivitz and Francois K and DJs like that, and they're really important DJs. And I think that someone like Harvey, again, to go back to Harvey, but like as a DJ, I think he learned a lot because he was in America for such a long time. He learned a lot from all those faces, and he's taken it and run with it, much like Scruff has. And I like that. I like DJs that have got an appreciation for the history and without sounding pompous, the sort of the culture of the art form, but are running with it and taking it somewhere new as well and sort of really pushing it. And they might not, you're never going to see them at Coachella or whatever. They're not going to get the David Guetta moments, but I think they're probably doing more for the culture than the EDM people and all the rest of it. And I think that history will show them to be much more important DJs, significantly more important culturally than the hands in the air crew,
Yeah, man. What's the next one? Yeah, we can put on a classic. What's that, man?
808 State. So it's 808 State, Pacific State, which again is a quite an old tune. It came out, I think it was 89. But just sort of, we were talking about Stearns earlier. This was a big tune at Stearns. So let's chuck that on and see if any of the old Stearns faces recognise it.
I can feel the goosebumps. Great tune. Norman, you were saying how much you love the whole editing and sampling culture. That's obviously related to hip hop. And yeah, what I can see is another record by Gangstar. Is that the one?
Yeah. So, I think it's interesting, the whole editing, sort of sampling DJ culture. There's a big correlation between hip hop and disco. A lot of the early hip hop records were based on disco riffs. Good Times in particular. It was rinse the fuck, wasn't it? And I do think there's, in my eyes, because I sort of was a teenager during that period. So it's, I remember when Public Enemy and Beastie Boys, Run DMC sort of blew up over here. It was a really big deal. And it opened my eyes and a lot of people's eyes to the sort of cut and paste sample culture of hip hop. And again, like I said to you earlier, I think that's very important. I think from a DJ's perspective, you have to take that on board, that how important that is about sort of, it's a bit cliche now, but hip hop is, that's hip, let's hop on it, And I think that's very important. And I do think that whilst, my sound is a bit more disco, is a bit more soul, that element of the culture is very important to me. That that sort of if I hear something that I like, I'm taking it and I'm throwing it in my set. I don't really care what you think. It's other people's opinions are not really my problem. But yeah, I do love hip hop. But Gangstar, I think if we're talking about sampling, I think Prem's just he's found so many amazing breaks, and the tune I'm about to play, Blowing Up the Spot, I just love the break that he's used on this. I think it's exceptional. It just really does kick, so shall I play it?
Let's go.
I see now you got me pissed off, blast off, lift up. Time for me to twist off a vocal fist off into your dome piece, home piece. I heard your chick wants to bone me. I get wild like rugby, respected like Bugsy. Don't even ask me, cause I'm living lovely. Born to succeed, foes bleed, true indeed. The oral combat will romp that. You're one of my seeds. When I first busted on the scene, nigga, you knew I had more than a gangster lean. My lean is gangster though, so check it. I stick an MC for a spot and signing blood on his whack record. Booyaka to your face as I ruin ya, clown ya, dumbfound ya, while I'm screwing the fuck out your girl. If she steps into my world, I'm not the tallest, but that ass I'll polish. And if the hooker runs her mouth, she gets cut off. But then you'll sweat her, cause like my leather, your butter soft. Your style stinks, kid, you're garbage. And if you keep talking shit, I'ma make you pay homage. Cause the G to the U to the RU came too far to let you slide through. Rhymes will scar you, and who the fuck are you anyway? I catch more wreck in a minute than if you rhyme for 10 days. Throw the cash in the pot. You better dash, nigga, cause I'm blowing up the spot. Escaping the explosion. Those who are dozing, I close in. Set the thermostat at sub-zero. They're frozen. Extreme temperatures from my mic stuns amateurs, unable to conquer the gang. I am mad at ya. Peace to J. Ruder, Big Shook, and the group home. Keeping it real, no playing niggas are grown. I'm way past the kid shit. Brothers already did shit. You want some props, yo dog? Here's a biscuit. I'm a smooth nigga, and my groove's bigger. Move, nigga. And we don't care who's with you. Got the picture? And you don't wanna hear the burners go pop. Gangstar, motherfucker, what? Blowing up the spot, up the spot, up the spot. I'm about to blow the fuck up. 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 I go from one format, then switch to the next. Reflex sets the pitch, vocals rip through projects. Crazy shouts are heard all around, cause the gangsta sound carries more weight per pound. I got some brand new Timbs, so MCs sing new hymns. You better repent, come correct, and represent or get stomped, smacked or slapped, cat peeled back. I got you open. And now you cling to my sack. Get off, hands off, stay off, you're way off. You rookie motherfuckers, it's the finals, not the playoffs. I'll break you up into particles, to small pieces. Because your brain is minuscule, you little fool. Come learn the tools of the trade. I made the rules, so go to school and get played. Just when you're thinking that your jam is hot, up steps the niggas who be blowing up the spot.
Gangsta. Norman, you as a British guy, have you ever been to the United States? And if you experienced like the whole hip-hop culture in there?
I mean, yes. I went to the States, probably 10 years ago, I suppose. I went to LA, or went to San Francisco. San Francisco was amazing. I loved it. We went to a club on the night we arrived, and we saw Kenny Dope Gonzalez and DJ Spinner back to back, like playing 7 inches, man, all night long. It's just like an incredible way to like sort of hit a country, you know. And I basically spent the rest of the holiday just talking about that night because it was, you know, for me it was that special. But yeah, we went over there. We did a bit of a road trip. We did Coachella the year they had the Tupac hologram, you know, and all that. It's a very sanitized festival experience, but one I wouldn't repeat. But yeah, I did enjoy myself at the time, you know. And then we sort of bowled down to LA. Went to Amoeba Records on Sunset Boulevard, but also went to Amoeba Records in San Francisco as well. So there's 2 incredible record shops. Like really, like I mean, the stuff I got from the Amoeba Records in San Francisco, like in their 50-cent bin, you know, like sort of like chuck away records. Some of that stuff's absolute gold, you know. But I did spend a fortune, you know. Like, I went absolutely crazy over there on records. But yeah, it was well worth it. I did like America. I enjoyed it a lot.
Have you got one of those records here with us today? If you don't, you're saying how much you love as well to dig and find new stuff. Is there like a particular one that, oh man, you didn't know the artist, you just gave it a play and you just found out, man, something precious?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got any of the records that I bought in the States with me today, but I have got something that, I heard over there, and it sort of stuck with me, and it was one of those ones where I knew what the chorus was, you know, how the chorus went, and I was kind of like, yeah, it must be called that. And just harassed the hell out of people that I knew in record shops and just sort of browsed online until I finally tracked it down. And interestingly, I tracked it down and was all chuffed about it and started playing it out. And a friend of mine, Steeps, who does a fair amount of DJing, does quite a lot of commercial stuff, you know, private parties and stuff, but originally he was a real hip-hop head. And he, like, when I played it, he was, oh yeah, it's one of my favourite tunes. I was like, yeah, should have just asked him, you know, when I first heard it, but it never even crossed my mind. I just went on the hunt, you know, the thrill of the chase, as it is. You know what it's like when you're digging for records, man, you know. You get the scent and that's it. You got to get it. You got to get it. You don't think straight till you got it, you know. It's weird.
Here we go.
Don't respect the sister, walk around like a womanish. She won't speak unless it's something worth saying. Don't play. The girl take herself so serious. People stare curious. She got a natural way, her hips sway furious. Yeah, the luxurious. Carries herself like the cutest, most prettiest thing you see. This side of the bay, go about her business so purposeful that she got razor sharp wit and she just won't quit. Flaunting it, body built like a house made out of brick. She got the smile, the style and finesse, compounded with a blessed profound intellect. Select few have ever seen her butt naked, and they too wanna see the rep protected. Cause she don't like violence, but she can do them things, so don't let your guard down. Her thighs are soft, but her eyes are hard. You can't just try, tell her, come on now. She digs Angela Davis, Alice Walker, Nikki Giovanni, oh honey. Says she wanna be a doctor, and after someday I'm sure she'll be teaching somebody. School the street, smart girl, ain't no dummy. One economic empowerment, it ain't about the money. The boys ain't queens coming around the town, yeah.
Sweet and tight,
London run
out of sight, dynamite
with a freaky shot,
that you can't quite see.
but she can't quite hide. And it lies in a gentle command of the night. Wherever you took my head, baby, send it home. Send it on home. I really think I lost my head, cause it's females on the whole new throne. Yeah. All the clerks wanna offer you help, all the folks compliment your style. Yeah. All little children wanna jump in your lap, girl, I wanna do that myself. She ain't no innocent Hello Kitty chick. She's committed sins and ain't finished yet. But because of her disposition, she ain't subject to criticism. That's why the other women started mimicking. She ain't tripping off no images. Her interests are all limitless. She ain't limited by inhibitions, Lord. Boundless imagination. She bounced this side off me, Jack. That had me out in space, somewhere just floating, not knowing the way back. You know I can't always fathom everything that you say about half the time, but when I hear your voice, you support your board with all of that body language, girl. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright now. I look right in your eyes, ask how'd you get so neat?
How'd you get so deep?
I just when I think I know your style, I know there's something I ain't been. Don't give me no silent treatment, girl. She's trying to sit on me. I'ma prove to you, baby girl, that I can't doubt you. Cause I said something subtly rare about you. Something savoir faire about you. Well worth all the conversation. Well worth all the conversation. So much how to actualize in these pens. Well worth for you.
Yep, we just listened to LA Tricks, produced by DJ Shadow. Norman, I know you played in a lot of venues. Are there any gigs that you wouldn't forget? And if you ever played, or have you ever had the chance to play with some of your main influences during those gigs?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been really lucky, you know, over the past sort of 30 years or whatever. I've played at some really, really good events. You know, I've been really lucky with my bookings. They're all great, you know. Even the bad ones, I think, are great because you know you can also learn something from a bad gig, you know. If you play to an empty room long enough, you'll get really good because it gives you an opportunity to you know try stuff that maybe other people wouldn't try, you know. So. But yeah, I mean, I've played some great crowds. Inappropriate Hand Clap, a fantastic crowd every time, every month. You know, they're just phenomenal. They really are. All ages, just a fantastic vibe. I love them to pieces, man. You know, like you never see you see the same faces a lot, but there's always new faces as well, and it's just a really nice vibe. I love that. I've been lucky enough to play with Norman J quite a few times, and that's for me is quite a big deal because he's been so influential, especially early on as a DJ. You know, being so broad-minded in the sort of stuff that he plays, and I'm pleased to say that he's a really thoroughly nice man, like a really nice guy, you know, to the point that he'd give you a little pep talk at the end of the night, and you know, and just he's just lovely, he really is, you know. I haven't got a bad word to say about him. I've also played with Craig Charles, you know, which is he's broken a lot of really good records over the last few years on his radio show. I'm a big fan of that in particular. I do love the radio. It goes back to when I was a kid. You know, I'll always have the radio on over the TV. And I've also played with like the Family Stone. So Sly and the Family Stone, interestingly, we were talking about the specials earlier being multicultural. Sly and the Family Stone were like that, but back in the 60s, you know, when it was and from America as well, when it was a much bigger deal, almost an apartheid state over there in the 60s, America, wasn't it? So, I mean, obviously, Sly Stone's, as I understand it, not very well these days, but, you know, there was still like 4 of the original members when we played with them. And that was a big deal for me because, you know, I love the music of Sly and the Family Stone, you know, I think they're great. And to sort of share a stage with people that have, you know, that's true legends there, you know. I mean, you know, like, what can you say about Sly and the Family Stone? You know, just phenomenal. So, you know, like to be on stage with Cynthia, you know, and to be on stage with Jerry, the original saxophonist and stuff, you know, the guys that played these riffs, you know, that changed music. I mean, phenomenal. But I've got to say, of all the, and I've met loads and loads of people that I admire, and I've been lucky enough to play with Kevin Rowland from Dexys Midnight Runners, and You know, he was a really nice guy as well. But out of all of them, Norman J, just because he's so important to me, and because he's been so lovely as well, he's just a genuinely warm and lovely man. You know, so to sort of to have idolised someone a bit, you know, your whole life, and then when you do get an opportunity to play with them and meet them, they couldn't be nicer. I mean, it's just a dream come true, really, isn't it? You know.
You were saying about playing for an empty room. What was the maximum number of people that you've played for? And
yeah, I mean, so I guess sort of in the rave days, I played to some big crowds. Generally not at the safest of environments, you know. I played. I guess recently I did a party at the Assembly Rooms at Worthing, New Year's Eve a few years back, and I think that holds about 2,500. So it's quite a big room. I think it was maybe 1,500. I don't know. It felt like about 2,500 at the time when you're alone on that big stage, you know, for hours on end. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, like you said earlier, I do really love DJing still, you know, and I will. I play records to myself at home every day, you know. So I will do it for 5 people. I'll do it for 500 people. I'm not precious about who I DJ for, but I do think that sometimes when the crowd's too big, you kind of lose the connection with them. You know, like I think it's better when you can see the whites of their eyes a little bit. It's, you know, if you can read the crowd better, you can see what they're responding to better when you're sort of face to face with them. When you're sort of 30, 40 feet away and 10, 20 feet up in the air, it's quite difficult to see what's working and what's not. You know, I mean, you obviously know if you've dropped a stinker because you'll see the floor clear. But being able to gauge, you know, what it is about the record you're playing that's turning people on, I think you can do a lot better to a smaller room. Having said that, if there's any big promoters listening, they want to book with some massive rooms, hey, I'm available, you know.
what was the maximum length of time that you played?
Yeah, I mean, so in the olden days, I've done like 8, 9 hours, 10-hour sets before. I mean, probably not that good towards the end of them, you know. Hand clap is usually if I'm doing a bar gig and it's just me, then sometimes I can stretch it out to about 5, 6 hours on my own. Any more than that, really, and it gets a bit uncomfortable. You know, you got to pee and that. You know, you got to find like a long record so you can run to the toilet and hope there's no one at the urinal and stuff like that. But I mean, some people say to me like 45 minutes is the ideal DJ set, but I think it depends on who's in front of you. You know, because if you've got the right crowd in front of you, then you just want to keep playing. You know, and if they're loving what you're doing, then you know they want you to keep playing. So it's a win-win situation, isn't it?
And what's the right crowd for you, mate?
Yeah. So no dickheads for a start. I mean, the right crowd would be, I would say, 60 to 70% female. All ages, not of any specific sort of generation. You know, I want people in there from 16 to 60. Open-minded, so there's nothing that I hate. You know, I don't like taking requests. I don't tend to do it. If I'm doing a private party, a corporate do, whatever, I will pretend to take a request and humour them. But when it's hand clap, I've got a big sign that lights up. It says no requests, you know, because I don't want to hear your shit, basically. But I do hate those people that come over and are kind of rude about it, you know. And the worst one, the one that I find the most insulting, really, is when someone comes over and is like, I don't know any of this music. And it's like, you know, your lack of education is not my fucking fault, man, you know. Yeah, the fact you've kept yourself in a box your whole life, you know, that's down to you, son. I don't want to hear it, you know. But, yeah, I mean, the ideal crowd for me is open-minded, you know. So a crowd that I can play whatever takes my fancy. That's the ideal crowd for me, really. You know, if I can get away with throwing on, like, something obscure or something like, you know, even I like to throw like some really obscure, like oddball pop in there sometimes as well. You know, like a bit of Robert Palmer or like some Paul Simon, you know, stuff like that, just to spin people out. And I love it when a crowd responds to that. I also like sort of changing tempos. You know, like much as I enjoy beat mixing, and the like. I do think that if you go out and it's the same tempo all night, I find it kind of boring. So I like to take the tempo up and then bring the tempo down, and and sort of so. A crowd that gets that, because sometimes there's crowds that if you do sort of adjust the tempo, take it down from like 120 BPM to, say, drop a reggae tune. For some crowds, that's like, like the end of the night for them, But I mean, I personally, yeah, but I love that, I think that's what makes it exciting for me, and all the DJs that I admire, they're all, really good at doing that, like I've taken. It's a bit of a cliche, but taking people on a journey, and sort of musically, in terms of melody, tempo, feel, really mix it up. It's called mixing for a reason, isn't it?
I really appreciate what you're doing, Norman. I think you are educating people in a good way by taking no requests and putting the sign up for everyone to see. But unfortunately, I've got a request for you, man, and that's Soul to Soul. That's the one you have now, right?
Yes. So it's Soul to Soul, Back to Life, an absolute banger. We were talking about that period earlier, Primal Scream sort of era, 89, 90-ish, and I think you can't really talk about that era without talking about Jazzy B and Soul to Soul, because they were a huge part of UK club culture, and remain so. I mean, I think they're getting booked for Worthing for November this year, aren't they? And they're playing the Pavilion, so get on that, people. I'm sure there's tickets available still.
soul to soul. Yeah, Norman. I was very, very surprised when I saw an article from Mixbank about the electronic music scene in Worthing. And I mean, I know there's plenty of talent out here, but do you reckon like there's still like a lack of venues as well as lack of support from the local authorities in order to make the scene grow?
Yeah, I mean, there are venues in Worthing. You know, there's the Factory Live now, which I think is going to be quite an interesting club space as well as a live music space. St Paul's, it's a great room. If you can get the sound right in there, it's a fantastic room. You know, it looks great, and it's and the new owners or the new management, Howie, are really well connected. So I think that's got real potential. I think if the finances are there for St Paul's, I think that's got real potential. You know, the Worthing Theatres, they're making an effort these days. You know, I mean, they haven't always, but they are trying to engage with the local community, music community. But I think it's difficult because, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, venues have to make money, and in order for venues to make money, they've got to sell alcohol. And you know, whether you want to admit it or not, a lot of club music is drug music, you know, and there's no denying it, you know, and whilst prohibition is a thing, you know, a lot of venues aren't going to make a great deal of money on alcohol for a night where everyone's taking pills, you know, or care or whatever people are taking these days. So, I mean, you know, there's that kind of balance, isn't there? And I think, you know, I've argued with people over this for years, you know, but I think, I mean, that's why it's difficult for underground music to do well in a small town like Worthing, because it's quite a conservative place. And you can't really expect venue owners to either charge £5 for a bottle of water so they can make their money that way, or you know, charge loads on the door. If they're going to charge loads on the door, then they've got to have guaranteed attendance, you know, which means booking bigger names, which down here, realistically, you know, you got Brighton just down the road, so most of the big names are going to prefer to play in Brighton rather than Worthing. I mean, that is changing, you know, and that has been changing over the past 10 years or so. You are getting better names in Worthing now, but it's a slow process, and I think people need to trust that you know, if you're a punter, you know, not like calling people that, but if you're having a night out and you're spending your hard-earned wages and you've worked all week for a boss who's an absolute prick, and you know you've slaved all week and you've got 50 quid in your hand and you want to go spend that 50 quid, and you know that if you go to Brighton you're guaranteed to have a great night, or if you go to Worthing you might have a great night, you're going to go with the guaranteed, aren't you? You know, you're not going to gamble. I mean, I'm quite lucky because I have played so much in Worthing over my life. I mean, I've played elsewhere as well, but I've generally, since my 20s, I've generally had a residency somewhere in Worthing bubbling away. So because of that, I've built up a lot of trust with people. So people know that if they come to something that I'm involved in, 9 times out of 10, they're going to enjoy it, you know. So I'm quite lucky because I've built up that trust. But I think for people starting out, it's a challenge, you know, and as I say, that there are initiatives out there. I mean, there's been a couple of meetings recently with the council or a council-funded initiative have been to speak about stuff, and they are investing. Audio Active is something they do here, and it's something they do in town for young people. So they are trying to engage, you know, but it's a long road, you know, and I think it's a difficult one because realistically, unless you're selling tickets, you're not in the music business, you're in the alcohol business, and you got to sell the drinks if you want the venues to stay open, if the venues are going to keep booking you, you know, so it's difficult.
Yeah, it's definitely a long road, and without selling tickets and without selling alcohol, it's difficult for venues to make money. I understand that, but yeah, I just hope that there are more initiatives for artists who are making club music, and but that will take time and takes the trust from the owners as well. And yeah, I mean, it will take a couple of years, but there are guys here that need that those places to play. They need that.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, the guys, just the guys in Northbrook, you know, just this university alone, let alone the wider scene, Worthing, Brighton, Littlehampton, Bognor, whatever, you know. there's so many great DJs, you know, like, and some of the youngsters, you know, I get youngsters coming in, I say youngsters, I'm, you know, patronising, but I get young men coming up to me and they want to know about vinyl. They want to know how to DJ vinyl, and they want to, you know, they want to talk about it. They want to know, where'd you get your records? Where'd you find this old stuff? Where, you know, and they're really interested, and I think that they're the ones that are going to keep the scene alive, you know. And they do need the venues, you're right, you know, and hopefully, I mean, there are some great people out there, you know, like Mark at 42 on the seafront. He'll chance his arm with stuff, you know, like he will take a punt on stuff, and he'll moan about it if it's not successful, but he will chance his arm, you know. Atom will book stuff if they don't know it that well, but they'll take a chance on stuff. They might not put it in a big room, but they'll definitely take a chance. Coast will, you know, they'll look at trying doing different stuff down there. Again, though, you know, if you know, it's like when I first started throwing parties and stuff, you know, like you'd make sure that you were packed out. You know, you'd put the effort into promoting it. You'd put the effort into making sure all of your friends would show up. You know, you'd guilt trip your friends, like twist their arms, bribe them, whatever it took to get that room full, you know. And unfortunately, there are, you know, whilst there's a lot of talented DJs out there, there's also a lot of people that don't put that effort in. And in order for your stuff to work, you have to put that effort in. You know, you have to go and promote it. You have to, you know, you can't just expect someone else to do all that work for you. You've got to do that footwork. You've got to do that legwork. You've got to get out there, get your name out there. You've got to bully your friends. You've got to make sure that the room's full, you know. And I think that people forget that is part of the job, you know, especially when you're starting out. Part of the job of being a DJ is raising a crowd. It's not just playing to a crowd. It's you've got to make sure that crowd knows who you are, knows where you're playing, and knows that they can come and trust you to give them a good time, you know. And I guess that's maybe where some of the youngsters maybe need to put a bit more effort in, you know. But I mean, again, I'm lucky because I started at a time when DJ culture was really hot, you know. So like all the bars wanted to hire DJs when I started DJing. So if you could throw together like 4 hours of house, you could get yourself a residency somewhere in the early 90s. It wasn't difficult, you know. So I'm really lucky that I had those opportunities there, whereas obviously now that it's saturated, the DJ market, isn't it? Everyone's a DJ now. You've got all these controllers and all the rest of it. So I think it's difficult for someone starting out to differentiate themselves, whereas back in my day, it was quite easy because everyone was playing straight house sets. So I threw a bit of disco in there, a bit of funk, a bit of soul, a bit of music that I knew about from before the house days. And, you know, I managed to sort of carve my own niche that way, you know. And I think it's difficult, and I think, you know, it's a real challenge. But like in any kind of job, occupation, whatever, the talent will shine, you know. But if you're good, then you'll do well, you know. If you put the work in and you're good, you'll do well.
You were saying how important it is to promote, and we had a great example here in Worthing. Without the work of Mensa, we will never have Stearns. Right, Norman?
I mean, yeah, totally. I mean, Mensa is not someone that I knew personally, but you know, obviously met him back in the day. But I mean, yeah, I mean, he was a visionary. You know, to have the idea of what was essentially a super club before super clubs were even thought of. You know, that's what Stearns was. There's 3 different floors, sometimes 4 rooms of different musics. You know, like you'd have your really hard stuff in the underground. You'd have your garage. You'd have maybe some breakbeaty stuff on a different floor. Then you had this cinema. Sometimes it'd be like an ambient vibe happening in there. You had the tea rooms. You know, I mean, it was a hell of a spot. You know, and I think Mensa was, yeah, a real visionary to sort of to have put all that together back then, and the names he was booking as well. You know, he booked, you know, Moby, Carl Cox, Harvey, you know, Tonka. I mean, you know, the bookings were sensible at first. I mean, it got to my tastes. I didn't like the way it ended up, but that's my tastes. You know, I know that it was still as popular as ever when it closed. So that tells you everything you need to know. But yeah, I mean, I think, but again, it was a different time. You know, it was a different time back then. So you've got to bear that in mind, that, you know, it was all new and exciting. Whereas nowadays, I mean, people are a little bit jaded with club culture, aren't they? They're kind of used to it now, you know.
Thank you, Norman. Here we go. We got a club record here with us. That's by Robert Owens, right?
It's Cold Cut featuring Robert Owens. So it's the lovely dulcet tones of Robert Owens, but over a Cold Cut production from, I think it's about 2008, 2009. But it's nice. It's a nice tune. I think you'll appreciate it.
If I could be you and you could be me for just 1 hour, if we could find a way to get inside each other's mind, if you could see you through my eyes instead of your ego, I believe you'd be surprised to see that you've been blind. Walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes, oh yeah. And before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes. Now the whole world you see around you is just a reflection, and the law of karma says you reap just what you sow. So unless you lived a life of total perfection, you better be careful of every stone that you should throw. And yet we spend the day throwing stones at one another, 'cause I don't think or wear my hair the same way you do. Well, I may be common people, but I'm still your brother. And when you strike out trying to hurt me, it's a hurting you. Walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes, oh yeah. And before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes. There are people on reservations and out in the ghettos, and brother, there, for the grace of God, go you and I. If I only had the wings of a little angel, don't you know I'd fly to the top of the mountain and then I'd cry. Walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes. And before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes. And before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes, oh yeah. Walk a mile in my shoes, oh yeah. Walk a mile in my shoes. And before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes. And mercy, what about now? And before you abuse, criticize and accuse, I need somebody out there to come on over here, over yonder's way. Walk on, come on.
Robert Owens, everyone. Norman, as far as I know, you are currently learning and basically investing more time into production. Are you enjoying it? What sort of sounds are you getting so far?
Yes, yes. So I'm studying full time at Northbrook, doing music production. I'm absolutely loving it. Every minute of it is fantastic. The people, the facilities, the staff, everything. It couldn't be better. You know, I'm really, really loving it. Obviously, and I'm sure everyone that's got into production has said this, is you know, I wish my stuff was better. You know, but it's the stuff that I've made this week is better than the stuff that I made last week. You know, and I think obviously I'm here. I'm doing a degree. I've got years. I'm starting to throw some edits together, which is really nice. And like I said to you earlier, I think that's quite important. You know, so I'm gonna make myself some sort of exclusive edits, which I've got a few bubbling under, and my own productions. I've made some house, I've made some techno, and I've made a bit of disco as well. And it's, yeah, you know, it's okay. I wouldn't release any of it yet. I think it's got a long way to go, but I think by the end of the degree, then I should have stuff ready to release. And you know, and I just, you know, anyone that's thinking of doing a course like this, I'd recommend they jump at it because it's phenomenal. And you know, and yeah, I just like I said, I just really, really love it here at Northbrook. It's a fantastic environment to be in, to learn, and also to meet people, you know, like yourselves and you know the guys we were chatting about earlier, and that, you know, there's some real talent here, so it's a nice place to be.
I'm sure you're gonna come up with something great. Yeah, with your background and the sort of music you like, I'm sure you're gonna within a few months, I'm gonna see a tune. And hopefully I'm gonna be playing it. Yeah, fingers crossed. Besides your inappropriate and club nights, and now obviously your productions, what other projects are you involved in?
Yeah, so I'm doing. I mean, obviously, hand clap is sort of my heart and soul. You know, that's. I love hand clap. You know, I don't want to change anything about it. I'd like to earn more money out of it, but. That will come in time, undoubtedly. But I just love the way it's going. I love the way the crowd is building and has built over the past 8 years. It's been phenomenal. But I started a new venture last year. My friend Rob, who's a really talented DJ and producer, he's done all manner of stuff over the years, and we're calling ourselves Pick and Mix. And it's a mix of vinyl and digital DJing, and we're sort of we're going a bit all over the place again. You know, as I said too earlier, I'm not really a fan of music policies. We're keeping it one tempo, so we're going all over the place. It has got more of a focus on reggae and sort of slightly Afro-y sounds. It seems to be going that way. I think organically it's going that way. But I mean, it's just exciting to be playing with. I mean, as you know, I love to DJ, so it's exciting to be playing with anyone really. But Rob's a really good DJ. I really enjoy working with him, and he's helped me with my productions as well because obviously he's got years of experience. So that's been a really, really beneficial experience. And that's going really well. We've got a monthly night at the Libertine down in Worthing, which is going really well. It's sort of picking up in numbers and stuff, and the atmosphere. We did one Friday just gone, and the atmosphere was incredible. It was a really, really good night. Everyone left there smiling, which was good. I'm also doing some nights with a friend of mine called Shelley, who's just got back into DJing after having kids, etc. And we're starting that next month. That's going to be called From A to Beats, and that's going to have a focus on the more sort of soulful side of house and garage. And I think that'll be quite a good night because Shelley used to play some clubs in Brighton. She had a residency back in the early 90s. So I think, you know, she's itching to get back on the decks after sort of taking a couple of years out. So I think that'll be really interesting. And I think there'll be a different crowd to that, but that'll be something that's probably going to grow legs and get quite successful. I'm also doing some design consultancy work for a t-shirt brand. So I give them ideas for t-shirt designs and other sort of graphic design ideas, and then they pay me a percentage of any future profits. And I also work with a couple of promoters to suggest acts that I think they should and would book. And if they follow my advice and they book the acts and the acts are successful, then I get a percentage of the profit there as well, which is quite nice. But of course, you know, you've got to put some thought into that, you know. But I mean, just, you know, like just anything that I can really do just to sort of keep myself working in music, you know, rather I don't really want to have to go back to an office job, you know. I'm considering having my face tattooed to avoid that, but that's probably a bit extreme, you know, at my age.
Yeah, and just to finish, where people can find you on, if you have any If you have Facebook, SoundCloud.
Yes, you can find me on Facebook under Norman Murchie, which is Murchie, or the Facebook page and group is called Inappropriate Hand Clap. There's also a page for Pick and Mix, that's spelt PICNMIX. And I'm on Insta as well under at Norman Murchie, all one word. And I've also got Twitter, but I'd be honest with you, I've not really got to grips with Twitter. Just seems like a lot of people being rude to each other in short sentences, really. But I'm sure I'll get my head around it at some stage.
Thank you, Norman. Thank you very much for coming. We just ended this podcast today, and you have the Black Madonna.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier about DJs that I admire, and so someone who was a bit of a big deal for me when I was younger was Frankie Knuckles. And whilst the music she makes isn't exactly the same as Frankie Knuckles, I do think in its intention and its vibe, it's very similar. And she's done this tune a couple of years ago now called Here's the Voice I Hear, and I just think it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of electronic music. So I figured we'd finish the show with that.
Thank you very much, Norman. Thank you very much for coming. And thank you everyone for listening to us. Hopefully I'm going to be making more of this in the future. Thank you. Bye-bye.